Hello and welcome to Talk Seagulls, and we're back at the Caxton Arms in Brighton, and I'm joined by the former Albion goalkeeper and plastic Liverpool fan that is Toby Ball.
I'm not having
On the week where we play here twice in a week.
Yeah.
It's sorry, but it's great to have you back down again.
No, always a pleasure to be here. I'm just not having the plastic fan comments anymore.
It's just easy, isn't it?
I know it's easy, but I'll take it. People are always going to say it, but no, I'm a die-hard Liverpool fan.
I mean, to be fair, the kit you brought down this week is actually, even as a Brighton fan, is pretty cool. It's signed by the whole team. Where did you get that from?
So that was last year's squad, so Klopp's last team. I got that from Nike. I've done a few bits with Nike. So yeah, they sort of gave that to me as a bit of a treat. I had an option of that, England, and then other Premier League clubs sponsored by Nike, but no one cares about them. So yeah, we sorry. Well, I chose the Liverpool one. So yeah, that's well, they did. To be fair, they didn't actually give me Brighton as an option.
No, fair enough.
They clearly just couldn't get the signatures, but yeah, Liverpool had to go for it. So yeah,
couldn't get the big clubs, I suppose. But no, it's still a very cool one to bring down. But mate, on a week of so much, you know, as we sort of said off air, how weird the start of the week's been. I mean, for Brighton fans, it's absolutely heartbreaking. It's ridiculous, to be honest, in the way it come about. At the same time, of course, we didn't want to get involved in the pile-on with Max Wieffer, etc. We'll get into the gist of the game, but not in a long time, I haven't seen a sort of bottle like that. I mean, a throwaway, and the sort of feeling I had as soon as that ball hit the back of the net, thinking, what have we just done? How has that just happened?
No, I think sometimes it feels worse than a loss, because obviously you're 2-0 up, you're very late in the game. Us as fans, you're probably thinking, oh, it's fine, you can chill. You think you've won the game, and then all of a sudden for it just to switch like that in an instant is football. Like that is football. And yeah, it is an absolute killer. And you do sort of feel for him, obviously, with the past, but like I say, if obviously that doesn't happen, or if Wolves don't then go and score, no one probably really remembers that incident. But obviously, because they've gone on the back of it and scored, honestly, it's terrible. But it's football. Look at the amount of late goals over the weekend, was crazy. Yeah, which changed the game. And yeah, unfortunately, you're on the wrong side of it.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is it's in a week where there's a double header, against the same team. Liverpool, home and away in the same week. Really weird one, to be honest, but coming up against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. Now, this is sort of doing the rounds on social media at the moment, and I wanted to bring it up straight away because I wasn't really sure myself on where I probably sat with it, because I said to you before, the way Brighton are and the way we have been competing with the bigger teams at the top of the league, no matter what conversation you have with the bigger team's fans, is they'll say, you haven't won a trophy. What a trophy for Brighton. Where's your trophy cabinet? You know, that sort of thing. And the same thing happens for Spurs. And then, you know, there's the reason as to where that traditional big six is not maybe as, thought out as it used to be. If Brighton won the Carabao Cup, would that change the sort of trajectory as to how people see Brighton, as from the little club that's maybe punching above its weight to the one that can go and spend £200 million and win a trophy and have, the League Cup is a major trophy to get behind them?
Yeah, no, I think definitely it was sort of maybe change people's opinions on Brighton. I think obviously if you win the League Cup as a club, it's brilliant, but then it's what you do after, because there's been a few clubs that have won it and then sort of fallen down a little bit. So if you win it and then you're only going forwards and only going upwards with it, it does really make people go, actually, hold on a minute, these lot deserve quite a bit of credit. So yeah, we sort of spoke about it. So Brighton fans, if you had to pick which one you wanted to win, I'd probably say the cup game, just because then you're getting closer to that big day at Wembley and an opportunity to win a trophy. Yeah, obviously the Premier League is a main focus, wanting to be a European club, but I still just think if you actually went and won that trophy, what that would do for the club as a whole would be incredible. Like that, it's a major trophy. Yeah, obviously some teams play slightly weaker sort of sides early on, but everyone still wants to win it, and it's still a major competition in this country. So yeah, and it'll do you one better than Tottenham.
Well, yeah, that's true for a start. And actually, that's sort of the point of that whole "would you rather" question. Would you rather win against Liverpool in the cup? Would you rather beat them in the league? For me, it's difficult, because as much as I do sort of I want to see Brighton lift the trophy. Imagine seeing Brighton lift the trophy. It would be
incredible.
It would be unbelievable. I couldn't even imagine it, to be honest with you. I still, even if we got to the final, couldn't really imagine it, to be honest, until it happened. But at the same time, the Premier League's very difficult. And a win at Anfield would be equally just as pretty amazing. Yeah. But at the same time, is that just a short-lived moment in comparison to maybe the grand scheme of what a trophy would mean to this football club?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're sort of looking at it in hindsight. As the realism of football is, you might lose both games, you might win both games, you might draw,
both
you might
games,
say,
realistically.
It's obviously, it's just a question thrown around on social media. But yeah, I just think as a Brighton, like a trophy, like imagine even getting to a final. We see a couple of times been at Wembley in the semi-final, but never like a final, and I think that's different. So yeah, I think for Brighton, if they could maybe don't want to say put all their focus on the Carabao Cup, because the Premier League's so important. It's probably the most important thing. But at the same time, if you can have a bit of focus on that Carabao Cup and really go, actually, no, we're going to really give this a go, yeah, it'll be incredible.
Is it still a route into Europe? It is, isn't it?
Believe so. I'm pretty sure it's Europa League. So that, in a way, it's sort of you guaranteed your Europa League sort of spot. Obviously, I don't really know the club's ambitions, whether they potentially want to look to go higher in the next few years. So, yeah, but it's a route into European football, and it's a statement. Like winning a trophy, you go, look, we've won a trophy, which not many clubs do.
The thing is, the reality of getting there and then seeing City in the final, it's just.
I know, but you never know. Whenever you're in a final, you sort of like look at Man United when you played them in the semis in the FA Cup. Well, see, that went really late on with the penalties and stuff. So yeah, when you're in a final, anything can happen. So yeah, hopefully, actually, I'd say hopefully, I want Liverpool to win it. So, but obviously, if Liverpool don't win it, then yeah, whoever wins, I want to actually win the whole tournament. Yeah. So yeah,
for sure. We'll get back onto the Newcastle game just for a bit, just because it's still out of the head. I don't think it will be probably all week until as I said, the good thing is you get that opportunity to make things right. As much as it is very difficult to do that and against a side like Liverpool, but it's more about the manner of the way that it was thrown away. And this is probably the biggest talking point that came out of it was obviously Matt Wieffer deactivated or at least turned his social media comments off.
Yeah.
So he didn't want, the amount of abuse must have been pretty terrible in his comments. I wasn't looking at it, I've got to be honest. Yeah. But I can imagine, the modern social media is horrible. We spoke about it so many times, how horrible social media is. And I guess it's the fine line between calling it what it is and being a very bad mistake and a very bad moment. To then crossing that line and for a new player that's hardly really played for Brighton yet, to already feel like he needs to turn his comments off is not a very good look, is it?
No, it's always a difficult one. You don't know whether, I haven't seen it either, and I don't know whether he's turned it off because he was getting really bad comments or he's just turned it off, just to be on the safe side. I think the reaction
on Twitter that night was pretty poor.
Yeah, so I haven't seen it, so I don't know whether that's something they're sort of trying to encourage, which it shouldn't be. That's wrong. Obviously, if you made a mistake, they shouldn't be encouraging you to turn your comments off. Your fans should be backing you. But you can understand with the modern social media why players might do that. So yeah, it's a difficult one. Like you say, he hasn't played a lot of football, and it's the fact Wolves have then gone and scored straight after. Which, like I said to you, if that doesn't happen, if Wolves don't go and score, no one probably really remembers that moment in the game. They might go, "Oh, we could have won 3-1," but you've still won the game. It's the fact that Wolves have literally gone straight up the other pitch and scored. You do really feel for him because you look at it and you go, "There's 4-on-1," but it's a learning point. So hopefully he can go and learn it. Because realistically, is he probably going to be in that exact same situation again this season? Probably not. It's quite a rare situation to be in.
There's that, and then there's also the sort of the way it then unravelled on the other side, right? Yeah. There's the foreseeable, bad pass. But then there's actually it's great play from Doyle. It has to be said. He if you're a Wolves fan, he's one of the best moments.
He has read it well.
And then he's played that ball. Yeah. And Cunha was sort of testing the whole game. He was a little bit of a wind up in the first half. Taking a little bit too much time with certain things. But that's football these days. You've got to live with it. And he, to his credit, he's done what he needed to do, and that's rescue his team. But from a fan's point of view, I mean, I still can't quite believe how it happened. I still I saw something. It didn't happen if you're still in denial, and you watch it back and you're so convinced that actually can't happen. You know, that breakaway is actually the pressing from, was it Brian Gruder originally? And actually the way that the ball was won was fantastic. In the last sort of 5 minutes, to then see your sort of substitution players coming on and making that impact to drive up the pitch, I thought, okay, this is exactly how we need to kill the game. And I was really quite thinking, okay, it's the momentum sort of swinging. And then when that ball was given away straight to Wieffer, I thought, right, run into the box and just wait for someone to gamble. Just wait for it, because you don't have to do anything else. And it was just the case of anything but that.
Like that was the worst outcome, was Wolves ending up with the ball. Like he could have literally just ran to the corner. His probably teammates would have been like, oh, we're 4-1, but obviously you would have probably just ended up winning the game. So it's like you say, anything but that. And it's so hard being in that moment. He's quite fresh into the game, and it's like I say, you do feel for him. It's not the nicest of things that will happen. No,
I mean, you know, hopefully for him, I think the best possible thing that could happen is if it does just start straight away tomorrow, and gives him that opportunity to bounce back instantly. Because, you know, of a player of Mats Wieffer's quality, it goes without saying, come over with a very good reputation from Netherlands, and, you know, he's done very well. I think Arne Slot really sort of saw him as being such a key part of his side last season. You know, he's been come over with this sort of reputation of being the holding midfielder that we needed. Maybe without expecting so much from Carlos Baleba. You know, Baleba's been rightfully such an impactful player this season, and probably you'll ask the question on Hürzeler's point of view of why would you take him off at the end of the game? You know, it's easy to say in hindsight. I know, 2-0, but the same thing sort of recurs. You think, okay, well, you take Baleba off and then we look a little bit weaker, and without Lewis Dunk in the side now for a few weeks, you know, we haven't really got that leadership, so probably keeping on Baleba would have maybe stopped that situation from happening in the first place, perhaps.
Potentially, but also at the same time, you sometimes don't know what sort of situation a player might be in. He might have pulled up with something, he might have gone, look, my legs are done, I can't run anymore, so then the manager's left with no choice. So sometimes you sort of don't know, but it's so hard, because the manager's gone, right, fresh legs, we're just going to sort of see the game out, but then sometimes it can have the opposite effect, which is a shame. So it's like, say, if that doesn't happen, like the game's played in 90 odd minutes, like there's so many things before it that could have been different. So it's not, everyone always looks back at them sort of key moments, but at the same time, so much has gone on. Obviously, if you then don't concede the first goal, that doesn't happen. So much has gone on. It's just obviously that one incident right there is what people look back on.
It's fair you say about the first goal, actually, for Wolves' point of view, because it was just shortly after, and we'll get on to Evan in a minute because he deserves his praise, but it was shortly after that goal, it was just a total switch off. You know, and I do put it down to the fact of no leadership, really, in terms of Lewis Dunk's out. You don't have that natural sort of Lewis Dunk replacement. It's quite hard to find someone that
you're never going to replace. It's so hard to replace him.
And he's a local boy. He is the captain and has been for such a long time now. And without him on the pitch, as much as I actually thought Igor and Van Hecker had a good game defensively, it's that probably understanding of knowing how to just see out that moment and not maybe having that extra bit of naivety that probably someone like JP has. I actually think JP has the leadership qualities in him to go on and be that future captain, but I don't think that he's maybe got it yet, and rightfully so. He's 23 years old.
He would have learned from that at the weekend. It's you can't replace someone like Lewis Dunk. That's impossible. Probably the closest to it is probably Adam Webster in terms of that sort of role and that sort of maybe leadership sort of role, being at a club a fair few years now. You can't replace someone like that. And like you say, obviously Bart as well, he's really young. But it's so difficult because it is such a young side, so you're hoping that they'll just learn from it, which is, it's always easier to say after that result.
Well, you're right in a weird way in the sense of the learning from it thing, because they will. They have to. Because if they don't, then, you know, I don't know how you can't learn from that. To be honest, I don't think there's much worse scenario to it unless we lost the game. It is the ultimate sort of, you know, worst case scenario that could have happened in that game. And as you say, there is so many sort of young players in that side, and one of them being Evan Ferguson on the other side of the pitch. He's been through quite a lot in the last year. He's had his injuries, he's had his surgery, and he also hasn't scored since, I think, if I'm right in saying, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, of course, last season against Forest, which was back in November last year.
Quite a while,
So the best part of a year without goal. Took it like he's been scoring most weeks.
Yeah, it's fantastic finish. Like, saw it as an absolutely, the way the touch and then the finish is like, you go, wow, okay, that's a Evan Ferguson moment right there. So yeah, it's actually really good to see. It's obviously, he would have come from it with lots of confidence after. Obviously, he would have felt even better if you would have won the game. You sort of score the winning goal, you've come on, like you've won the game. I can imagine what that change room would have been like after the game. It probably would have just been dead silent, would have heard a pin drop, because the shock from it, as much as the fans are shocked, the players are shocked, there's anger, you go, how on earth has that just happened? But I think everyone will look back at that sort of key moment and sort of hopefully take some confidence from it into the next games. And you'd like to think you might start against Liverpool and then, hopefully just start to score some more goals, because obviously that's what everyone wants to see.
Yeah, of course. I think that we actually spoke about Ferguson's role before the goals in the last sort of year or so. And that role being, he was almost being made out to be the big man, but he probably wasn't big enough man to take the ball as he was being given to.
Man,
and I think, to his credit, he was doing the job that he had to do against Newcastle, particularly. It was, sort of back to goal, best of times, try and take it down the chest with sort of big pressing defenders on the back of you. So more often than not, he is more likely to lose the ball than keep it in them scenarios.
100%.
And it was actually one of those times where, it does work. That's when you can see a goal like how Welbeck broke through and did with Jorginho. And, I got that part. Whereas this time it was a little bit different. He actually came on and with Jorginho still on the pitch. And it was a case of, I think Tarek came on as well and put the ball across to him. And really, really good to see Tarek, by the way, doing that sort of run, which we've missed since lockdown. And it was that sort of darting run from him, pulled the ball back across. And it's that finish. It's instinctive. It's not really looking up.
He knows where the goal is. You can tell. He's
half a chance.
Yeah, he's known where the goal is.
Back to goal. He's sort of done the turn. And it's brilliant. It's everything that, as we said and as you said, one of the best centre-forward talents in the world should score.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Like, the way he's taken that is like a Harry Kane sort of type finish.
Yeah.
And the touch and the awareness, use of his body. He, like you say, hasn't had to look up. He knows where the goal is, and it's in a flash. Like, the touch and the finish is in a flash.
Power he got in it as well.
Yeah, it leaves the goalkeeper and the defenders no chance, because he's done it so quickly. And yeah, it was very, very impressive to see. And sort of shows he's back to that sort of sharpness. So yeah, like I say, the confidence he'll get from it will be incredible. Obviously, he would have had even more confidence if you go and win the game. But like I say, like Graham Potter used to say, you got to take the positives out of it.
How does Potter get mentioned again? But you're right. And I think that it is a huge, not just a little bit of a positive. This is a huge, huge positive, because, as we said, this is one of the best centre-forward talents in the world. This is not just someone that's sort of, I think I put Ferguson as a bit of a freak of nature, to be honest. He's too young to have a body sort of that physical and a shooting ability that good to just lose that talent. It's practically impossible for him to not have that. He does remind me of sort of that Erling Haaland mould, and that sort of player that likes to take the ball and be sort of that strong talent. And it's really, really good to see, and for him as well, to have that goal under his belt now. I mean, don't get me wrong, the fixtures aren't kind, right? We've got Liverpool City, I think, in our next 3 games, which is, well, you don't get much harder than that.
It's going to be tough,
But again, it's one of them where maybe that pressure's lifted from him. And you don't have that, that burden on your back thinking, okay, another game, no goal. Another game, no goal. And people don't, not to say they don't see it, but not every fan's maybe going to see that general link up. People just look at the goals and assists, don't they?
Yeah, and it could be the flip side of it, obviously. From a Liverpool perspective, hopefully he doesn't play well against Liverpool and scores goals. But obviously, if it happens, and the same with City, people go, right, okay, he's back. But then at the same time, if you lose the game, or City or Liverpool dominate the ball, and people go, actually, hold on, we've just been beaten by really a better team. So yeah, the next few games, you can sort of just go out and scored that goal now, so you can maybe play with a little bit less weight on his shoulders. But yeah, obviously, at the same time, Brighton are probably going to want to go out and prove a point. Like you do against every side. I reckon Brighton now are at that stage where they'll they'll go out and they're trying to win every game of football. I think, see, when you first come into the Premier League, you look at your fixtures, you go, right, what ones are we going to try and what ones are we going to try and get some points out? Whereas I think now we've probably got to the stage where you go out and you go, actually, we can try and win every game of football. Obviously, everyone does that when you step on the pitch, but it's different. It's different. You actually go with that mentality. Isn't it?
It's that feeling of actual real belief as well. You can have the belief when you're on the pitch, but it's a genuine feeling of who cares if we lose? Let's just go win. And it's freedom, isn't it? Really, that's probably what you would call it. And I think that Brighton have had that for the last 3, 4, 5 years, particularly sort of in that era when we, that season when we got to the Europa League. I think I remember that last sort of couple of months. I think it was sort of that April, May, played Arsenal, big teams, and we're just sort of seeing offsides every single week. And it's that run of confidence you need, that. And I think especially for a striker like Evan Ferguson, as we said before, it is. That first goal will build up to sort of a bit of a domino effect, and hopefully for him it does do a similar sort of thing. But while we're on the subject of things that are in form, and because there are so many positives to take out from this very bad situation before we get on to the Liverpool games, and that's Jorginho and Danny Welbeck. They said strike partnerships were dead.
They're incredible, aren't they? Like they are the sort of they haven't been playing long together. But they just feed off each other so well.
It's 8 goals and 3 assists between them now.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I don't really know where it sort of come from. I don't know whether they're like good mates at the training ground or what, but it's clearly working really well, and they feed off each other superbly, and they're both in fine form. Obviously, we spoke about Welbeck last time, and it's actually quite frightening to sort of see the levels which those two are getting to in that partnership, because sometimes you can't beat that. When you've got 2 players that are so in sync, sometimes it's just impossible to defend against.
Well, I think a lot of credit goes down to Jorginho here, because he probably doesn't get the credit he deserves. The big £40 million signing, the one that everyone really looked at the beginning of the season and was like, wow, Brighton have put some money in. They've gone for Leeds' supposed best player at the time. I think Archie Gray was gone by that point, so I can call him the best player. And he's become one of Brighton's best players in that time of being very, very short. He's only been here for a short amount of time. I think he has contributed to a goal in every game that he started for us this season. And most of them being through Danny Welbeck. It's the similar sort of ball, the sort of, shadow sort of pass, looking the other way sort of thing. And it's very, very difficult to stop because of how fluidly it works. They almost know where each other are going to be. And I think all the time that Welbeck's in the sort of form he's in at the moment, I not a part of me even thought he'd miss. I think when you looked at the old Welbeck, sort of when he first came here and probably before Brighton, you would have thought could score. You give him a 60% chance of scoring. I think now it's a 95.
It just looks so confident. Yeah, he looks so confident. Like on the ball, he looks so confident in front of goal. I do see what you mean. Whereas beforehand, you maybe be like when he's striking it, he looks like he's unbalanced or maybe falling over. Whereas now he just looks so confident in front of goal. No, it's pure instinct. Which again, from a player's perspective, it's so nice to see when there's a player just sort of playing with so much confidence. And obviously that helps with goals. Obviously he scored a lot of goals and that's only going to give him more confidence. But the fact he also has a teammate now who he sort of knows exactly where the ball's going to come from, or if he makes a certain run, he's going to get it. Yeah, those two must be on a different sort of wavelength.
The thing I like the most about sort of both of them is they kind of complement each other really well, obviously, but also it's the sense of running you probably get from both of them is that they cover so much ground, particularly Jorginho. He's a bit like, and I can imagine when João Pedro comes back into the side, the runners up front are crazy. Yeah,
the distance. I think the whole squad covers as well is. I don't know the stats, but you'll be able to find them somewhere
as well. To be fair,
yeah, you've got people that work really hard on and off the ball, because it's not just sometimes the old sort of striker saying is they only really care about when they're in possession, but they do a lot of work off the ball, which is so important. So yeah, it's really, really good to see from both of them. It sort of shows their want and their sort of determination to get better and score goals. Obviously, it's a shame about the result, but again, you look back and you take the positives. Those two are playing superbly well, and obviously, he's come in to the side where there's probably you don't look at it and go right. He's just going to start straight away because obviously you had players already in them sort of positions, but. for me, he's probably one of the first on the 11 now.
Yeah, definitely. I think this team's going to be very hard to sort of dismantle. I think when you get the players back. Yeah. Unfortunately, the injury list is pretty rough reading, to be honest. I think when you look at the likes of O'Reilly and João Pedro, Solly March, etc., been out for so long, it's as much as it's a bad thing in terms of we're missing so many. It's given the opportunity to someone like Jorginho to not have the battle to push João Pedro out the team. He's almost just said, no, I'm coming straight in, and he's always replaced him without replacing him's sake. He's come in and he's done that job really, really well. I think he is establishing himself now. Probably the only thing with his game is because he runs so much. Probably in the last half an hour, he does just look puffed. I think you saw probably in the last 20 minutes, and again against Newcastle, it was a case of he's just run everywhere and he puts his body everywhere. He covers wide, he comes in the middle, he sort of goes push a little bit further up as well. And people sort of said, why are you signing him? He's not a striker for Leeds. Is he a striker for Leeds? He only got, I think it was 6 goals in 40 games or something for them. It doesn't matter, I don't think. You don't need goals from every player on the team every single week, because I think when you've got players that contribute to so much more on the pitch, the goals come around the pitch as well. You don't just have goals from Welbeck, say. You can get some out of Jorginho, you can get some out of Matoma, you can get some out of Minte when he's back as well. And even Carlos Baleba had that unbelievable shot in the first half. We've got a very well-rounded side, and that sort of brings me on to, I'll start with the cup thing with Liverpool, because do you think Liverpool, because are they the current holders of the Carabao Cup? At least they did one it not too long ago. They are the current, aren't they? Obviously, goes without saying, massive club, big reputation. Arne Slot's sort of come in with, like clockwork, really, isn't he? Replacing Jurgen Klopp. How do you feel about sort of Liverpool's start to the season? And Alexis McAllister.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been an incredible start to the season. Obviously, everyone goes, if you look at the fixtures, they go, been quite an easy run. But Arne sort of said the other day, like when he was encouraged to go to the Premier League, there's no easy game. Then all of a sudden, everyone's saying you've had the easy games. He's then played Arsenal, and the Arsenal game was a weird one.
Probably should have lost that controversially, right?
No, I'm not having that at all. I saw so many tweets on Arsenal going like, oh, it's a disallowed goal. I'm like, hold on a minute, he's blown the whistle about half an hour ago. And then even though Havertz has then handballed it, and then even after then, he's then fouled Trent. So yeah, I was not having any of that from the Arsenal fans. But it was a weird game. It just lacked a lot of quality. But yeah, sort of moving on from that, the start of the season has been incredible. We look a little bit calmer, don't look very like erratic, and obviously we have our moments. We seem to be going also a little bit longer, a little bit more direct, but also from like a calmer manner. Like everything doesn't sort of seem at about 1,000,000 miles an hour. So the start's been very good. We just sort of hope it can continue really. And then on that, Alexis McAllister is phenomenal. Like you saw it at Brighton. And it was, all the Liverpool fans say it as well, he is absolutely phenomenal. Like, he is one that works so hard on the ball, but also his work rate off the ball is fantastic for someone who probably isn't the biggest, not the quickest. The way he gets around the pitch is crazy good. And then his technique. With
Alexis when you were?
Yeah, a fair few times. Obviously, like, his English wasn't great. But yeah, I was involved quite a lot, especially with his shooting drills. Oh my God. It was
Come on, talk to me.
Mate, it's scary. Like the power he gets with such sort of little backlift is, he was probably one of the best finishers in the team at the time.
Really?
Yeah. Anything around the box was just scary. Like you saw as Brighton fans, some of the way he strikes the ball was just fantastic. Obviously, it comes into my head now, that goal against Leicester was like the best disallowed goal ever. That strike, he'll just do that constantly in training. And
really?
The technique he's got is frightening. And obviously you can understand why he's now gone to such a big club and he's thriving there as well. Like he doesn't just go on there and plateaued, he's gone there and excelled. He is incredible.
What I'd say about Alexis, just lastly on him, is one, admirable way of leaving.
Yeah.
It was very good in the way he left. I think he still claps us as well. He sort of gives us the appreciation. I think he still cares. I think he endorsed the move for Kundo, didn't he? I think he did another one for Valentin Barco, if I'm right in saying. He's still well involved with Brighton, I think, and that's good to know. But as a player point of view, his ability to create space, and I don't know if you can probably see this at Liverpool, it was probably second to nearly none I would say. Maybe Facundo is sort of similar. But it's just would receive the ball and would always have about 5 yards around him all the time. And it's just a sign of a good player, isn't it? You buy yourself the time. You always sort of drop yourself into these little half spaces. And you would know better than I do tactically about, sort of not just Alexis, but, Liverpool, especially this season. But I just always thought class, just waiting to happen probably.
Yeah, like you said, he finds them pockets really well, which you sort of need as that like deep midfielder. Just be able to find them little bits of space and arrive in them at the right moments. Obviously, it's I say it's easy, but anyone can sort of find space on a football pitch, but then it's arriving at the right moments. There's no point going into that space and then not getting hold of the ball, or you're just coming in, the ball's miles away, because then you're never really going to receive it. And then by the time you've entered that space, you've probably now got a defender on you, so that space no longer there. So he arrives in space so well, and then his awareness around him is superb. Like the amount of times he receives the ball facing the goal, and he's still picking up passes behind him. Like that first time around the corner, I think he's probably learnt that from De Zerbi, and he's then taken that into Liverpool, where he's receiving the ball, he's got a player behind him, he's facing his own goal, yet he still has the awareness around him just to then still play forward, which I really like from a Liverpool perspective. And I think that's why they signed him, because he wanted to sort of be direct. He was always thinking, how do I go forward instead of backwards, which I think is such a Liverpool way. You rarely see Liverpool just sort of play the ball back. If there's an option to go forward, they tend to do it. They always like forward runs, and it is quite direct. And even under Arne Slot, they're direct. It just sort of seems to be in a little bit of a calmer manner, which sometimes I like, because obviously watching Klopp football, oh my gosh, that's like this all the time, which I love, absolutely loved it.
It's the sort of German press. It's probably similar to sort of how we are, really, isn't it? It works one week, and another week you don't turn up and it doesn't quite work, and it's just how it is.
It depends on the opposition. Like I say, the Arsenal game, I think the whole game itself lacked quality, apart from Saka, who was absolutely incredible.
I had to eat my words on Saka, because I think I was saying that between him and Salah, I'd always pick Salah over Saka. He proved me wrong, to be fair, the other day.
I think it all depends on the game. Obviously, I'm going to pick Salah.
I think I would as well, and I'm not just saying that because you're here.
Yeah, I just think Saka against Liverpool was phenomenal, and I think we sort of left Andy Robertson a little bit exposed. Like the first goal, obviously, people like Van Dijk should have been closer, and I agree. I think you've got a player of Saka's quality. Yeah, he's not going to win every 1v1, but he's definitely going to win some. And
Salah's sort of closer to the level of Hazard, say.
Yeah, Salah's got the numbers and all that, like the goals and stuff. And I think it's also the fact no one expected it as well. Yeah. Obviously, obviously he had that one season, everyone's like, he's one season, one day, he's done it again and again. But he's another one who he has such a high work rate, and he just wants to succeed, and he always wants to get better. And I think when you've got someone like that who's obviously not just happy just getting 20 goals, he'll be like, right, should have got 30, should have got 40. So he always wants to get better, and when you've got a player like that, it's always frightening.
So stylistically, Slot against Brighton, do you think you're going to want to go for the Carabao Cup this year? Is it something that's Brighton should expect to see a difficult side? Or
I think definitely. I think Liverpool, their culture is they want to go out and win everything, no matter what the competition, no matter who they're playing against, they're going to want to go out and win everything. Yeah, they're probably going to play a slightly weaker side and maybe get some people minutes, but I think whenever you play against a Liverpool side, they're always going to want to go and win. So it's never going to be an easy game, I don't think, playing against Liverpool.
Yeah, no, it'll be tough.
Yeah,
to be honest,
it's always going to be.
I think maybe we've, as I said, I've not been totally convinced yet.
Yeah,
I think there's still a lot of learning to go, and I think that tactically there's still a lot of question marks. We can do some sort of things quite well, but the best times we do start quite slowly, and against a side like Liverpool, they could really punish.
Yeah, and both sides have a fair few injuries as well. Liverpool have a few injuries at the moment, so it depends. If he does want to change it up and he does want to rest players, and he's going to have to look at some of the academy boys and the younger players, or he might go, actually, no, I'm quite happy with their load at the moment, and they're happy to play some of the more senior players. But yeah, we'll see. But I think it should be a really good game.
So we've got a video here from Ben Kelly, who's formerly of Liverpool Podcast, and now he lives out in Qatar. So if you wondered the backdrop, he's in one of the stadiums from Qatar. He's, to be fair, been kind enough. He's on shoot today in one of these impressive stadiums and still sent us a video. So fair play to him. I don't think he'll be at the game tomorrow, though, just a gut feeling.
Hey guys, it's Ben from Euronews here. Looking forward to a tasty week ahead as Liverpool play Brighton twice. Always an interesting dynamic, isn't it, when you play each other twice in a week, especially when it's in the cup as well. Obviously, that's a big game that you guys are going to be up for under the lights at the Amex. And I think for us, the priorities are obviously put different this season. I think going into this cup game for Liverpool, it's a game where Arne Slot should be looking to rotate. Now, obviously, so far so good under the new manager. I think given how much change there's been at the club over 2024, not just the manager, but also a new director of football, a lot has kind of gone on upstairs as well. We couldn't be happier, really. We had the small blip against Forest at home, but we've won 11 of our 13 games. The other game we've not won was obviously on Sunday at the Emirates, and that was a really well fought point in the end. I thought, I didn't think we were very good, and I think that's the thing with Liverpool this season. We're grinding results out with different levels of performances. We obviously got the point on Sunday. Away at Wolves was a really tough performance, dogged performance. We went and got 3 points there. But then on the flip side, we've got performances like AC Milan away in the Champions League and Man United away in the Premier League, where we were absolutely head and shoulders above teams of that ilk. So this is going to be really interesting, kind of seeing what Arne Slot does here. Because contrary to popular belief, Arsenal aren't the only team with injuries at the moment. Liverpool have a few as well. But I think the difference for us is it's kind of the squad players that are injured. So I think he's said now that Conor Bradley is going to be back, but the likes of Harvey Elliott, Federico Chiesa, Diogo Jota, these players are all out, and these are players that I probably would have expected to start this game. So, for example, right now, I don't know who's going to play on the right wing, because I'd love him to rest Mo Salah, but I don't know who else he can put there, really. You can maybe put Diaz on that side, but all these players need rest, because we're in the midst of a really, really tough run of games at the moment. We've just played Chelsea and Arsenal. In the Champions League, we've got Real Madrid and Leverkusen on the horizon. We've got City, we've got Newcastle, we've got Everton, taking us right the way through to the second weekend in December. So this is a really long run, and he hasn't done much rotation so far. So I'm expecting a bit of that tomorrow, but who's actually available is kind of still a question. As far as you guys are concerned, look, we are so impressed with you guys. Just the way you seem to kind of transition between managers like it's nothing. Obviously Hurlis has done a fabulous job this season. Big wins away at Newcastle, a draw away at the Emirates yourselves. It's been really impressive, and we kind of see you now as part of that ilk that's just outside of the top six, along with the Newcastles and New Brentfords. Those really tough away games that we feel like maybe we should win, but we know we're going to have to be at our absolute best to go and do it. So we'd probably rather win the Premier League game, but we'll probably take a crack at winning both.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a really good point, to be fair. We didn't touch on it, but the Champions League games as well, they've had lots of them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you sort of kind of forget about that and, like, the rotation. Again, he makes a good point of, like, them squad players are the ones that actually are out injured, so people don't really look at Liverpool. I didn't
realise the squad players are injured. I've got to be honest. And he is right. You do get sort of caught up with the media of saying it's Arsenal saying this. And it happened to us, remember that last season, and we've got 10 injuries.
Yeah.
So, tough game. Yeah,
no, definitely. And like, he's right. If Arne Slot is going to rotate it, he's probably then going to have to look at like some of the academy boys and stuff, or like you say, he doesn't rotate it. So yeah, it'll be really interesting sort of to see what side he puts out there.
See, this is now the question: would you rather win tomorrow, or would you rather win on Saturday? For you, what, as a Liverpool fan, what would you rather do? Based on what Ben said as well, and thank you, Ben, for sending that, 'cause it's very good, by the way, and what a stadium to do it in. But what he says is right. You might get 2 games of 2 very, very different games.
Yeah. I'm going to have to say the Premier League game if I had to pick one. Would prefer to win the Premier League game. I think for us, like the way we sort of started, we sort of have to, like, our priorities are there, and the Champions League, they're always going to be our 2 main priorities. And yeah, obviously if we end up, like, if we do lose tomorrow because we've rested players, it's probably not the end of the world. So yeah, I'd pick the Premier League game, but obviously, like you said, we're going to have a good crack at both and hopefully win them both.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much what it sounds like on your point of view. It is just sort of every game is a winnable game by Liverpool's imagination these days. I mean, the expectation is, I would assume, is to win this competition again, right?
Oh, 100%. Like whatever competition Liverpool go in, they'll be expecting themselves to give it a crack and to try and win. Even the Premier League, even though everyone goes at the beginning of the season, our City have already won it, which everyone does anyway. But yeah, we always go into every competition going, right, we're going to give this a good crack. Look at the cup final last season. Most of the players that played are squad players and younger boys, yet we still come out and win.
Yeah.
So I think, no matter sort of what competition we're in, and no matter what players we have available, we're always going to give it a go and expect ourselves to go out and try and win.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting on the right winger's point of view. I mean, because I can't imagine Salah starts both games.
It's really hard to tell. You don't sort of know where his fitness levels are at, and whether he's like, actually, I feel fine and I don't want to rest. But that's sometimes not down to the player.
Yeah,
that's all down to like their sports scientists and stuff like that. So you never know. They might sort of change their formation a little bit. They might go with like a 2 up front. Yeah, it's really hard to see. But I think obviously you'll see like Joe Gomez and obviously Conor Bradley if he's back in, and he'll probably still play Kelleher in goal.
Kelleher, yeah. So, I think still starting for Brighton's point of view.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Hürzeler has all but confirmed that. I think he did confirm it earlier. As with the sort of usual suspects in the injury front. The only things that we might see is a return of Yankuba Minte. It's not considered done by any stretch. I think it's a bit in the balance. And also Jack Hinchelwood could return. Again, probably similarly to how Ben says and how you say, really, is I don't know if I'd want to throw him in straight away, Jack Hinchelwood, to be honest. I think just leave him. And I'd rather save him for the Premier League game in that sense, because I'd rather, as much as I'd love to win the Carabao Cup, as I said before, I'd still rather have a fitter squad for the Premier League. Because at the end of the day, the Premier League is, you only need one game to get knocked out of the Carabao Cup and it's over. That's done then. And I think, the difference is with the Prem is it's a consistent league over such a long time. And, come May, a point at, if we could get a point at Anfield in an imaginary world, that would be a massive point for us, and that would be one that we look back on and said huge confidence boost. Whether it's a similar sort of thing with the Carabao Cup, I suppose it remains to be seen. We've not really done a cup run in that sense, but I'd still rather have that base of the squad fit for the Prem.
Yeah, it all depends on what the player needs. Like you sort of talk about Jack, you don't know whether it's like he just had a slight sort of niggle and sort of needed to be rested, and actually maybe the game tomorrow.
I think that's what it was, to be fair.
And maybe the game tomorrow is perfect for him. He gets a good bit of loading in his legs and however many minutes under his belt. So it could be actually that it's come at a good time. So then he's ready for then to go into the Premier League game. But it's always hard to tell. We don't sort of know what their situation is, what their type of injury is. But yeah, I think, like you say, what one from like a Brighton perspective, I always say maybe like the Carabao Cup, because the cup run, what it can do is for the team and the fans, obviously hopefully get into like a final and a win and a trophy. What that does to a club is incredible. But they say it's football, so we're all talking in hindsight. Anything can happen.
As Ben says as well, there's a tough period of fixtures upcoming. There's obviously the international break in a couple of weeks' time, but after that, it's all systems go as the festive period is concerned, as everyone knows. The
Christmas period is so important. Like
it's huge.
That can.
It's basically the Premier League's decided at Christmas.
It all depends sort of maybe where you're looking at coming out of January, sort of February. It's sort of that's where you know where you're going to be. Are you fighting for relegation? Are you going for the title? Are you trying to get Europe? That sort of puts you in the positions, and also what sort of cup competitions you have left. It's after that Christmas period, that's sort of where fans start to get a bit excited and go, right, that's our target sort of thing. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
And let's leave it at that then. So your predictions based on everything we've said, everything Ben said, and how could Liverpool sort of, what would be a good scenario for Liverpool in the next 2 games? Is it a win and a loss? Is it a win and a win?
I think from a Liverpool perspective, they're always going to go out and go, right, we're going to win every game. So I think from a Liverpool point, they'll want to go out and probably expect themselves to win both games. It's not going to be easy at all. Of
course,
not going to be easy at all. It's Brighton, not an easy opponent whatsoever.
For you though, what do you think?
Going out, I think they want to win both games, definitely. I think, tomorrow's game, the cup game, I think you're going to see quite a lot of goals. I think it's going to be quite an open game, quite end to end, and I think then the game on Saturday, I believe it is. I reckon that'll be maybe less end to end. I'm going to go with, but I'm obviously hoping for Liverpool to win both. But I think that they both be really good games. I think they both we'll see lots of goals. I think especially tomorrow. But lots of goals, and I think good games of football.
Score tomorrow?
I'm going to go with like a 3-2 Liverpool.
Okay.
Could even be. Does it go to extra time, or is it straight to penalties?
I think it's straight to pens.
It potentially could be a penalties tomorrow, but I reckon there's going to be lots of goals. I reckon there's going to be over 4 over.
Do you know what? Why do I see that happening now? The thing is, because we don't have Dunk, it does add to that. And to be honest, our centre backs options aren't the best now.
No.
You know, after Webster's still out, so after Igor and Van Hecker, we're looking into the academy, right? No disrespect to the academy boys whatsoever. You never know. This could be a huge opportunity. But you don't want to be putting any pressure on coming into such a big period of the season. So maybe even we could see perhaps an academy appearance
potentially. It would be nice to see for the club. Potentially.
Particularly for Van Hecker, I think I would like to see his legs get rested a little bit, just because he did have that injury, didn't he? And I don't want him to just get himself injured for the sake of the cup. Okay, you say 3-2. I'm gonna say I honestly I don't want to be negative. I never predict a loss, so I'm not going to. But I think my heart is sort of telling me, my head's even telling me that I think we will lose tomorrow. I think Liverpool will be too good. And I don't mean that maybe as a slight against us. I look at it more as sort of tactically we haven't quite been there still. We're still finding our feet a little bit. We have rode our luck, it has to be said, at times. Liverpool are an animal, and I think that they could be too good for us, I think, tomorrow. The Premier League game, on the other hand, I think could be different because we'll go to Anfield with less fear and we'll sort of just... But I think when you're at the Amex and, you know, it's a cup game, you never really know. So I'm going to say head to me is saying that we're going to lose 2-1. But my heart will tell me that we can win it. Because why not? What's the point in saying otherwise?
You're not a fan if you're going in, we're just going to lose. You always go with that expectation.
So I'll say from a lovely, rosy world point of view, I'll say 1-0 win. But I find that very hard.
I reckon there's going to be goals. I do reckon there'll be goals.
Yeah, it's just whether we score them so much. I suppose we could do, but I don't want to put Welbs up to. And obviously Jorginho's cup tied, so our goals is instantly cut in half there. But we'll see. Toby, you've been an absolute pleasure. Thank you to Ben as well from Eurosport. Toby, I mean, they know where to find you by now.
Yeah,
the
surely.
goalie.
Yeah, I was going to say
Come on,
surely.
go follow Toby. Make sure you follow Talk Seagulls as well. Stream on Spotify. Make sure you like, comment on YouTube as well. And we'll see you shortly after the game because it's such a quick turnaround as we play Liverpool again, and he'll probably be here again. We'll see you soon. Goodbye.